What's up, and welcome to the Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast. This is the first episode, the inaugural episode of the Drop the Mitts Hockey Pod, brought to you in partnership with the Black and Gold Productions, LLC. I'm here with my man, Chris Davis. Follow him on Twitter at ChrisJDavis11. I'm Mike Sullivan. You can follow me on Twitter at _Mike Sullivan. Some of you guys may know me from the Something's Brewing podcast. Also underneath the Black and Gold Productions, LLC umbrella, along with, only Bruins, What's Brewing on Mondays with Chris Nosek, Short Shift Pod, obviously the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast. But this is the newest rendition of a podcast here on the BNG Network, and I'm wicked excited to get it started. Me and Chris here, we're ready to bring you all things hockey, not just Bruins. It's going to be everything around the league. Hopefully we have some really, really exciting guests to bring you guys. And so Chris, introduce yourself to the pod.
Yeah, man. So I'm Chris. Obviously super amped to be with you here. Got a ton to get to, man. A lot of NHL news, a lot of rumors. So I'm freaking amped up, man.
Yeah, dude. So we have a little, would you say it's like a little itinerary for the show? Would that be the right word? Like a little itinerary?
Yeah. I mean, we got a lot to get to. The draft's coming up, NHL awards. Got some crazy Bruins rumors, man, that dude, the last couple days, so we've got a lot to get to.
There's like, and I know I just said that we're not really like, it's not going to be mainly about the Bruins, but like, dude, there is a lot going on with this team right now. Like we knew it was going to be a crazy rocky offseason, but already there's just rumors left and right, up and down everywhere.
Yeah, man, especially this anonymous, all this anonymous stuff, man, about Bergie and Krejci, and just crazy to think about, man. And honestly, in my mind, I'm preparing for the worst. I'm preparing for both of them to be gone next year, and ready to move on. So, what's your take on this whole thing?
I don't know, dude. I think Krejci. I think the team will be okay if Krejci leaves. You already got Zacha. Zacha is going to be at least comfortable stepping into that 2C role. But if Bergeron leaves, I don't. Maybe it's a little. How do I say? Like, not exactly biased, but just we've been so comfortable with having Bergeron on this team as that 1C for like almost 2 decades now. So it's just it's the turn and the change of an era. If Bergeron is done, it's almost like where is this team going? He's been the guy in the locker room alongside Zdeno Chara. Everybody knows it was a 1A, 1B captainship situation. Chara's gone. If Bergeron's gone, then it's like, okay, who's righting the ship? Who's taking the charge?
Yeah, I compare it a lot to like when Brady left the Pats, man. Like everyone was just in shock. No idea which direction we were going in. And I think it's going to be very similar, man. Like you lose the greatest two-way center, I would argue. I'd love if anyone would argue otherwise.
Yeah.
You're losing
like of all time,
the most integral parts of this team. And like I said, what direction do you take next? Who steps up as a leader? Do you go fully into a rebuild, a retool? Like what direction do you take?
I don't think, and me and Nick were talking about this on the Something's Brewing podcast the other day too. I don't think you need a complete rebuild. I don't think you need to tear it down. I don't think you need to panic and start selling off pieces left and right. Because you got Pasta. You for the next 8 years, you have Pasta. You have Charlie McAvoy. You have Hampus Lindholm. I would consider Jake DeBrusk a pretty big piece of this future. You got Zacha. I still think he's underrated anyways in this fan base. I don't think people realize how good and not only how young he is either, but his ceiling, I think he's still growing.
Right.
And you got young pieces coming up too. You got Lohrei in the system. You got Lysell in the system, who, everybody's basically in the same consensus that he's not going to be ready next year. So don't, pump the brakes on having him in the lineup, but still he's in the system. Guys like Jeremy Swayman, your future goalie, you have pieces on this team. I don't think you need a complete rebuild. I think you need a retool, maybe something similar to what we saw in 2015, 2016, that era of Bruins hockey, where they're not, complete dog shit, but they're also not going to be a top competitor in the league. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they have a lot of pieces on this team that, other teams that are going to be competing next year are going to be interested in. I got a lot of people riled up on the Linus Allmark thing.
Yeah.
And man, he's a goaltender that I think has a lot of value, obviously coming off, which I think is going to be a Vezina winning year. And I think he has a lot of value, and I think you could get a lot of pieces for him.
Yeah.
And I think, players like Taylor Hall, I hate to say it, Matt Grzelcyk, love his game, but I do agree with you. I think he's going to be a piece that moves. And like I said, man, they don't have a great prospect system, and I think they need to start rebuilding that up by moving a lot of these pieces.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this team right now. You have two, I would argue, elite goalies. Maybe you not use the elite tag on Swayman yet, but he's definitely a top tier goalie. Linus Ullmark is coming off of one of the best seasons a goalie has ever had. His value is never going to get higher. And if you have an asset in Linus Ullmark that's expendable with a guy like Jeremy Swayman in the back, I think it would be wise for the team to move on, unfortunately, from Ullmark and get what you can for him and help speed up that process a little bit.
Yeah, I was just listening to you and Nick on Something Bruin, and you guys brought up a really good point. Why not sell high on Ullmark? Right. There's a ton of veteran goalies that are available. You guys mentioned Corey Schneider, Martin Jones, and like I said, I think you could get a lot for, for Ullmark right now. And why wouldn't you? Clearly we don't know what he couldn't bring it in the playoffs. I mean, in my opinion, if you're losing your top two centers, why wouldn't you start a retool? Bring in some young talent. We need forwards. That's the route I would take. But it kind of sucks that we're kind of just waiting on two guys. So it's going to determine what route they take.
No, 100%, dude. And so I don't want to get too thrown off the course right now. So like we said too, we're going to be talking all around the league. So we're going to be talking some Vegas Stanley Cup. What's next for Vegas too. I mean, they just won. What's their next step? Yeah. We kind of just touched on Bruins rumors, but we'll probably get into it a little more. Maybe a little bit of OEL. Calgary, dude. Calgary seems like they're in a absolute
wild
dumpster fire right now.
Yeah,
literally. And then some mock drafts, draft talk, NHL awards, stuff like that. So yeah, so like we said too, like it's not gonna be just Bruins. We're gonna be getting into everything. So what do you want to touch on first? You want to touch some Vegas?
Yeah, let's shout out to the Vegas Golden Knights, man. Freaking getting it done. Shout out Bruce Cassidy, Juicy Brucey, and
Juicy Brucey.
Yeah, unreal, man. Just so happy for him. Hell of a coach. That was another thing I was seeing on Twitter as well. What if we wouldn't have let go of Cassidy? We should have never let go of Cassidy. And honestly, I think it's complete bullshit when you look at it from a hockey standpoint and the relationship between the coach and players. I'm not saying anything negative about Bruce Cassidy because he's obviously a hell of a coach. There comes a time when not necessarily that he lost the locker room, but that relationship, it just wasn't working anymore. It's black and white. And there's nothing wrong with Cassidy as a coach. I knew he was going to get a job within 5 minutes after that firing. There's nothing wrong with him as a coach. But it was just time as far as the Bruins go. It was time for him to, it was time for them to move on. And I think ultimately they made the right call, but still, man, shout out Cassidy. That's unreal.
Yeah, dude. And that nothing made me more angry than when people were saying, the Bruins should not have gotten rid of Cassidy, blah, 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 all that bullshit, dude. Like every coach, as soon as they sign that dotted line as the head coach of whatever team, there's already a lifeline on them. There's already a timeline. And Cassidy, not only was he with the Bruins, with the Boston Bruins for 6 years, but he was also in Providence for a little bit. So he's been in this system for a while. Guys grew up in his system. Guys played with him in his system in Boston. That message gets stale. 6 years for an NHL coach is honestly a long time.
It is.
And it's not like he didn't have success here. He just couldn't get over that final, the final hump of a Stanley Cup championship in this city. That's not to say he was doing anything wrong. It's not to say he got fired because he made bad decisions. He just got fired because the message that he had in the locker room got stale, and the guys in the room thought that it would be wise to move on, have a new voice in there, have a new direction, maybe some fresh ideas too. And you saw Montgomery come in and they had a 65 win season. Like, I don't know how you can complain about that. And also too, it's not like you mentioned, he's not a bad coach. He's a very, very good hockey coach. And he proved that this season. Vegas got back into the Stanley Cup playoffs. They got back into the Stanley Cup final, and they ended up beating Florida in 5, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 games, Stanley Cup championship, the first one ever in Vegas's history. And I'm happy for Bruce. Like I don't know how you couldn't be.
You exactly, man. Like as a fellow hockey fan, and especially a guy who came up through the Bruins, why wouldn't you be happy for him? And going back to talking about if you lost the message in the message wasn't being relayed correct, whatever.
Yeah.
He was coaching a completely different team in Vegas. You know what I mean? They're a lot more seasoned. You got guys like Pietrangelo, Mark Stone, Eichel, like a lot older of a team, a lot more seasoned of a team, a lot more experience, in my opinion. And like I said, man, it was a perfect fit for him. So, again, shout out Bruce.
Yeah, dude. Shout out Bruce.
Yeah,
I hope if we see him again next year, if he comes to Boston, I hope he gets an ovation, dude. He deserves it.
Should. He absolutely should. And like I said, man, you got these Bruins fans that they just look at it for the black and white. Well, we shouldn't have fired him. Like look at what he did. He's coaching a completely different team, completely different message, and it worked for Vegas. And I think it was a great move by both teams, and it worked out for both teams. So I think in the long run, it's going to be good for both.
Dude, just like random thought, but thinking about Vegas, what do you think Barbashev is going to make this offseason?
Barbashev is going to get a bag.
Dude, he's going to make so much money.
In my opinion, I think he is the best free agent, unrestricted free agent available.
No, I agree.
Like I said, I was actually just listening to Spit and Chicklets, and they were talking about what route is Vegas going to take? Are they going to offer him the bag? I mean, Barbashev's coming 2 Stanley Cups, man. So at this point, is he going to want to take another pay cut and go to another contender, or is he going to want to get a bag? I mean, and he absolutely deserves it. He's a game changer. And, there's not a lot of players in the NHL like him. I had a feeling whoever got him at the deadline was going to make a serious run, and lo and behold, it worked out for Vegas.
Yeah, dude. Like he's the whole package. He's a playoff type player too.
Oh yeah, he's a ballsy grinder, man. And like I said, it's something about his game. He's got a bite to his game that any team gunning for a playoff run, why wouldn't you want him in your locker room?
Yeah, literally. Like he's everything you need in the playoffs. Obviously, we saw this season. You need that. You need that grit. Like you have to. You need to have that in your lineup when April, May, and June roll around. You need that. It's crucial.
Yeah, and Biz on Spit and Chicklets, he brought up a really good point, man. Like you said, 2 Stanley Cups, obviously. I have a feeling, man, hockey players, they're just different. I don't think he's going to be chasing a bag. I mean, another playoff run, like a cup contender.
Mm-hmm.
He brought up a team like Chicago, drafting Bedard, having him play on that first line with Bedard, dude, almost as like a protector. But he can also still play and put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on a Chicago move? I mean, I think it's pretty interesting.
Dude, I would honestly it makes sense, and Chicago has plenty of money to throw at Barbashev too. It's going to be a couple of years until they're a legit contender again. If they do everything right. So if you have a guy like Barbashev in that lineup for say like what, I don't know, $7 million, 6.5, 7.
Yeah, I'd say between 6 and 7 is a fair number for him. I mean, like I said, he's a 20-30 goal scorer, I think.
Yeah,
especially playing with Bedard. I mean, you got a protector on that line, man, and he's going to be good for the next 3 to 4 years, I think.
And that also keeps him in your lineup, in your system, in that Chicago lineup for a couple more seasons once that team starts to get a little more draw. It starts to bring, big name free agents, maybe a couple of big draft picks in, and you start to build a team. Having Ivan Barbashev in that lineup and then maybe have him slide down off that first line, maybe play second or third line, and then you have Bedard's weapons off to the wing. I mean, that's a team. That's a scary team.
Yeah, this Chicago rebuild is starting to feel a lot like, the beginning of the Taves and Kane era.
Yes.
You're going to draft Bedard. They just drafted Kyle Korchinski last year. Think of when they drafted Taves and Kane. Duncan Keith was drafted around the same time. So now you're going to be taking Bedard number 1. You've got Korchinski coming up, who I think has the potential to be a top pair defenseman. And then, I mean, I would assume they're going to tank again next year. And there's a lot of talent in next year's draft. Like, I just have a feeling it's going to be very similar to their rebuild with Taves, Kane, and Keith.
It's funny because they might tank and they might not even do it on purpose. Like, they just might still be a shitbag team.
Man, this year they didn't even really hide it this year. I mean, they were absolutely pathetic.
Dude, I thought Arizona was going to be the worst team, and then Chicago comes strolling in with what, like 12 wins, 15 wins, something like that.
Clayton Keller wasn't having that, man.
He wasn't letting that happen. Dude, what do you think is going to happen with Arizona? Honestly,
it's hard to say because I can't really. I knew Logan Cooley was going to be going back to school, and I knew they wouldn't have him. Now, this year's draft is going to be really interesting, I think. I know we're kind of going all over the place with as far as draft talk, and
it kind of works though because it's a natural little segue into the draft.
Right, exactly, man. And honestly, it really depends. I mean, if they decide to go with a guy like Michkov, right, who he's been telling teams that he doesn't plan on coming over. And, shout out to the guys over at the Empty Netters podcast. It brought up an awesome point that I didn't really even think about is you remember a very similar situation with Jaromir Jagr.
Yes.
He was threatening not to come over. He wanted to play with Mario, man. And honestly, do you risk taking a guy and then potentially having him not come over? Like, it's such a difficult position to be in. And I think about Arizona, man. Like, do you take the risk and draft a guy like Michkov, or like, what are you trying to build here? Like, are you even going to be here in the next however many years? You know what I mean? Like, what is the plan? I have no idea what direction they're going in. I love Clayton Keller as a player. Just an unreal talent, and it's kind of sad that he's buried out there.
Yeah, almost. It's like you said. Like if Arizona has a chance to get Michkov, if I'm them, and these rumors are true with him saying like, no, I don't want to play there. I'm not coming over if you draft me. I'm not taking that chance. And with Arizona, I think they have the 6th overall pick.
Yep,
right?
6th overall. Yep.
Okay, so then they can probably go for a guy like I don't know, Ryan Leonard. Like, Ryan Leonard is a good player, dude. If they can get him at 6, I think he could fit into that system pretty well. And he's kind of a low key guy too.
I agree, man. And honestly, it's because of how loaded this U.S. national team was.
Yeah.
Dude, between Will Smith, Perreault, and Leonard. Yeah, Leonard would be an unreal pick. Another guy, I think, Zach Benson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, unreal talent. He's little guy. He's 5'9", 163 from Winnipeg, the Winnipeg Ice, if I'm not mistaken. And I could see him fitting in there. This draft doesn't have a ton of NHL ready prospects in my mind. I mean, obviously Bedard he's like an anomaly.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at like Fantilli. I have a feeling Fantilli's going to be going back to school. And then Leo Carlson, who he's unreal too. There's a ton of different routes that they could go. You kind of saw this year that they were dumping. They got rid of Chychrun. It's hard to say what route they're going to go, man. Like, I don't really feel like they have a direction at this point. Like,
yeah.
All I do know is I wouldn't take a chance on a guy like Michkov being their organization. If I'm sitting there, say a team like Philly, man, or even like Montreal, like I know they need players right now, but like I would consider taking that risk, man, because they say his ceiling is as high as a Carlson. Like a lot of NHL insiders have him as the second best ranked prospect in this draft.
Mhm.
So I don't know, man. Like at some point you have to. It just with the amount of with how bad Arizona is, I don't know if I take that risk. I would take a more sure, like you said, that a Ryan Leonard, a Zach Benson, a Dvorsky, like one of those guys.
Even Reinbacher too. Reinbacher's no joke either.
I think Reinbacher is, I think, the best defenseman in this draft.
Yeah,
And
I
honestly,
agree, dude.
I don't think it's close. Um, I mean, you look at like what teams do you think? The team that I think that goes for Reinbacher, it's Philly.
Yeah.
Just trading Provorov. Like I said, I think they're gonna reload on the back end. And I could see a guy like Reinbacher going to Philly.
Yeah, David Reinbacher, I'm pretty sure he's like a gigantic person too. I
Yeah.
think he's
Well, so he's 6'2", 185.
Oh, okay, so actually not really. He's not too
What a
big.
great skater, man. He's an unreal skater, offensive defenseman. I think he's, like I said, I think he's the best defenseman in this draft.
Do you see any teams trading those top picks? Any team, maybe like a Columbus, who's kind of in a position with a new coach. Maybe they're looking to make a big splash. I mean, they already got pieces, dude. They're going to have Werenski back. They got Gaudreau. They got Line.
A team that I think been doing a lot of research on it. The Ducks, man. Like I think the Ducks are going to be. I love Fantilli. Don't get me wrong, but if you can move back, say a team like Columbus, Columbus wants to move up one, and you can get either, another early pick, and just for moving back. I mean, there's a lot of talent in this draft. I think this is one of the most loaded drafts in recent years that I can remember, at least. I look at a team like Anaheim. Why not, dude? Like they've got so many prospects. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I said, if you have your guy and they know their guy, you can take him later in the draft. Why not move back?
Yeah.
And, another team I look at like Washington.
I was just gonna mention Washington.
Like,
yep.
You're literally just. I think they're just waiting it out, letting Ovi get that record, and then what? I would accumulate picks for as long as I freaking could, as many as I could, because once Ovi's gone, they're in a full rebuild.
Oh,
you know what
time.
I mean? Like, why not? What are you competing for?
Yeah.
I don't think they're a good team. I don't know, man. Like I said, I think they're just waiting out Ovi to get this record, this goals record, and then they're going to be in a full rebuild. So I would trade back.
Yeah, the Caps aren't in a good position at all. They have Ovi. I mean, Carlson's getting older. Backstrom, I'm pretty sure he's been having injury problems every single season.
Yeah, he's been super injury prone.
Yeah, Tom Wilson's slowing down. He's got glue in his skates. Freaking TJ Oshie's older too. And I don't even think they really have a true number one goalie right now, unless I'm blanking.
No, honestly, I'd have to look and see who there even is on their depth chart.
See, that's what I'm saying. Just the fact that we don't know off the top of our head is almost enough. Like they just don't have the depth that they used to, and they don't play with the same dominance as they used to either.
Yeah. So right now I'm looking it up, man. Darcy Kemper.
Yeah, like that's not.
Darcy Kemper had success when he had a team like freaking Colorado, and
right.
Washington's a little different than Colorado, so.
Yeah, you got guys like Landeskog, McKinnon, Rantanen, Makar. Yeah, that guy's all right. He's okay.
Yeah, man, unreal. So, dude. Yeah, this draft, man, it's so loaded. I was convinced that Michkov was going to be going to San Jose. Like, I thought it was just too good of an opportunity. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
San Jose. You kind of know that they want to be bad for the next couple years. Like they're in that rebuild phase. They can wait on a player like Michkov for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But then obviously they got linked to Will Smith, which I also think is a great fit for them. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any how about sleepers? You have any sleeper picks? Maybe some guys who are pegged to go late in the draft, maybe on your radar a little bit.
Yeah, so, there's one prospect that came to mind immediately, and, that's Matthew Wood out of
Yes,
UConn.
dude. I
Um,
dude, I love Matthew Wood.
6'3", 195 right winger out of UConn. They have him going anywhere between 13 to the Sabres and 18 to the Jets.
Hmm.
I think he's going to be, in my opinion, man, having watched him, the Frozen Fenway game is where I saw him, man. And he just, again, he was the clear best player on the ice every single shift.
Yeah.
And you knew when 71 was on the ice, man, he was making plays left and right. And for him to be projected top 20 pick and he played at UConn, pretty impressive. Um, like I said, he was he's a gamer, man. He's big frame, can put the puck in the net, power forward. For him to go 13, I think that would be a lot of mock drafts have him projected 13 to Buffalo, and I think
Yeah.
that would be an absolute steal. Kind of that connection with Tage Thompson, who also attended UConn.
Yeah.
So I could see it. But I think, man, for him to fall to 13, I think that would be a steal for them.
Yeah, like you said, dude, it's a deep draft. But I'm looking at this. So I'm looking at a Bleacher Report mock draft right now, and they have this guy, 6'2", 200 pound, 78 points in 53 games. Dude, Quentin Musty. Quentin Musty is no joke either. He's a big guy. He's got a big frame. He can produce. I'm surprised they have him going 30.
Yeah, I'm looking at this mock draft right now, my NHLDraft.com,
Yeah.
projecting him to go to the Rangers at 23.
Mm,
I'm looking at his stat line, man. 23 or 30. That
yeah.
I feel like it's a steal at that point. But going back to what you said, it's such a loaded draft. And I think you're going to see a lot of teams trying to trade back into the first round, trying to get the talent, man. Like like I said, unreal draft. I mean, in recent years, I think this is the best draft I've seen.
Yeah. So obviously with a team like the Bruins, and you don't really it's hard to project them right now and what their offseason moves are going to be, because I feel like it relies so heavily on Bergeron coming back or not. Not only because it's Bergeron, but because that's your 1C. Like you need, like, going into the season, you need to have a 1C. So it's like the whole team revolves around that. So if, say, he doesn't come back, right? Say he's done. Say he calls it a career. Obviously, he's coming off an injury. Um, Obviously, everybody knows what's going on with his father. He's got some personal things going on, so maybe he really is ready to kind of call it a career. If that happens, can you see the Bruins using some assets to move up in this draft, or do you think that they're going to look more in terms of already established players who can help in the now?
No, I believe they have a ton of talent, right?
Yeah.
You go back to Allmark, Hall, Grizz. I think there's a lot of teams that could use those kind of players. I mean, like I said, Allmark's coming off a Vezina season. Like, let's not just skirt around that. Like, he's got value. You know what I mean? Like, there are teams at the end of this first round, even mid first round, that could use a one goalie, and that's what he is. He is, like, there's no getting around that. And
Yeah.
I think, honestly, if you find out, we have a week until the draft about. I don't see a decision coming.
No.
And honestly, I have a feeling that's why it's been pretty quiet. I don't. It's hard to say, man. With a week left until the draft, I just don't see them making any crazy moves to move up. I think they're going to stay put and just try to, just draft. Try to fill out Providence. I just don't see them making any crazy moves to move up.
Yeah. No, I don't either.
I'd love to see them do it. Obviously, like, if they're going to be in a retool rebuild, you'd love to see them move up and take a big name. But I just don't see at this point. We're waiting on Krejci and Bergeron. I just don't see them making a crazy move without knowing what's next for those two.
Yeah. Do you honestly, like, just personally, do you think this team would be better with or without Krejci?
I'm gonna catch some slack for this. I know. I think it's time to move on from him.
Chris, I'm in the same boat as you.
I
I'm in the same boat.
obviously super thankful for everything he's done throughout his Bruins career. Has had an unbelievable career. Um, it's just time, man. Going kind of goes back to that conversation about like Cassidy, man. Like it's just time.
Yeah.
They had their run. This was their all-in year. They're never going to have a roster like they had last year.
No.
It's facts.
No,
The
not even
salary cap
close.
does exist,
Yeah.
and they're just not going to have a season like they did last year.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you got Zaka coming up, who I think has the potential to be a 2 center. Even Coyle, man, Coyle is so underrated in my mind. The
Yeah.
fact that he's a 3 center on this, that he was a 3 center on that team. He's a top 6 forward on almost any other team in my
Yeah.
eyes. And like I said, man, just watching Krejci, man, he's slowed down. Thankful for everything. I think it's just time to move on. I'm more worried about Bergeron at this point, because I just watching him, I know he can still play at a high level. I mean, he's going to win the Selke this year. He's
Yeah.
unbelievable in the defensive zone. I'm more worried about what Bergeron's going to do, because I think that's going to be very telling what direction this team takes.
Yeah, dude, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, you could see it towards the end of the season. Krejci was getting gassed. He wasn't producing at the same clip as he was earlier in the season. You could kind of tell that some plays were just going by him a little too quickly. His decision making was a little bit almost hesitant at times, or like the game was just too quick for him at moments. And especially at the end of the year, it's like the last 3 quarters of the season, he was just out of gas. He had no energy left. And I think it's like you said, I think it's just time. And it was a good comparison too with Cassidy. Like sometimes it's just times run out. Like that's it. If you want to keep being a competitive team, like do you really want the 1 and 2 seed for this team to be like 38 and 37 years old? You really want that? That's a lot to put on 2 older guys to run the season and run your top 6.
Yeah, the 1 and 2 centers, they eat up a lot of ice.
Oh yeah.
So I think having the older guys be, take up as much ice as they do, you're taking away from the younger guys' development. You're not giving these younger guys ice time. So how are they going to develop? You know what I mean? And I just think it's time, man. Give Zaka the opportunity to be, in the middle on that second line. And, I really hope Bergeron comes back, man. Like, obviously, I want to do what's best for him and his family, but man, it's gonna be a tough blow. It makes you emotional just thinking about it, because that's like your childhood, man. Like, we grew up literally that it's gonna be a loss like Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be very similar to that. He's been with us forever, won with us, and it's just gonna be crazy to think about a Bruins team without Patrice Bergeron.
I mean, yeah, me and Nick were talking about it the other day. Same exact thing. The entire childhood and the entire time that I've watched Bruins hockey, Patrice Bergeron has been on this team in one capacity or the other. He has always been here. He's been the one mainstay for my whole life with this team. Chara's gone. The guy, Boychuk, McQuaid, all these guys, Thomas, Tuca, they're all gone. But Bergeron has been here for almost 2 decades. It's insane to think about. He was drafted the year that I was in kindergarten. It's like I just started forming thoughts the year that he got drafted. I just gained consciousness, and this guy is playing NHL minutes. And it's like if he's gone, like it's the signal of a new era of Bruins hockey.
Right. Yeah, it's again just crazy to think about. Like, even when he came back on that 1 year, like I kind of put it in the, I kind of blocked it out. Like, oh no, he'll be back next year. Like, I didn't even remember that he's going to be a free agent, because he was playing at such a high level. You just thought, you're like, this dude could play forever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy to think about that this team will not have Bergeron at some point. And
I know it sucks. I hate thinking about it.
It's just crazy to think they could go any which direction. You know what I mean? Like, they could very well go into a full rebuild. I don't know what, I think another interesting thing I saw, it was a poll that you had.
Mm-hmm.
Do you deal Marchand? I don't know, man. It's so hard to because we have that Boston like bias
Yeah.
where, you know, we can't trade Marchand. Like, what do you mean? He's going to be a Bruin forever. But the reality is, and you brought it up with Nick, it's a business.
Yeah.
Like, it is a business. If Marchand has any sort of value that's going to help this team rebuild and retool, I think you have to at least consider it.
Yeah. I think you would be doing a disservice if you don't at least listen to calls and see what you could get. Because if you say if you take all your bias out, right, and you get hired as the Bruins general manager, you come in, no bias at all. You look at the assets that you have. You got an aging Brad Marchand, still producing, but he's aging and he's at a $6 million cap hit. That's very valuable. And for a team that still has young pieces, like we said, for the future, you might want to explore that and you might want to see what you can get. Now, I know neither of us are advocating for it per se,
Right. Exactly.
but if you're looking at it with no bias, you look at it and you go, okay, it might be best for the organization to capitalize on this right now. But on the flip side too, and Nick brought this up, it's, does that send a message to younger guys in the organization that, okay, I have an expiration date, and once that expiration date hits or at least gets close to it, they're going to ship me off for a shiny new toy, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, man. I just think that's the reality of sports now.
Right.
You know, I don't think anyone is untouchable. It's very rare to see, I think, in any sport, one player play his whole career with one team. It's so rare. I mean, it's more, it's more common in the NHL, but it really isn't. Like, you look at players like Ovi. I think about like Kopitar. I can't see Kopitar going to another team. Like, it's just rare. Like, Marlowe got shipped off. Like, it's just crazy. These players that you think that are going to be with their teams forever, it's just not. It's not a reality, dude. It's not the way. It's a business. And again, the way that I think about trades in the NHL and rebuilds and retool, I always try to think about it from other teams' perspective, not just the Bruins. So if I'm a playoff team thinking, looking at a player like Brad Marchand with that $6 million, cap hit, why wouldn't I would go all in for a player like that?
Yes.
He could bring your team to the next level. And for, on the Bruins side of it, I absolutely would at least consider it.
Yeah. Because then you run the risk of just letting, I hate to like categorize him as an asset, because it just sounds so like dehumanizing a little bit. But if you really look at it as an asset, it makes more than a little bit of sense. Like it really truly does. And I understand the whole, the loyalty aspect. Marchand has given his whole career to us. We should do right by him and allow him to finish strong here. But there's other ways to do right by him too. If you sit him down and you have a conversation and you lay it all out and you tell him exactly why this is happening, the direction that the organization is going, and you just be straight up honest with him, then he may be a little more understanding. And like we said, it's a business, and you can give him the option of like, okay, these are the potential destinations. Are there any of these that you prefer over the others? And you can do right by him that way. No one's ever going to forget about Brad Marchand here. He's already a Bruin for life. Even if he retires elsewhere, people will remember him as a Bruin, nothing else.
Yes. And again, let's reiterate, we are not advocating for the Bruins to trade before we get absolutely friggin' roasted. We're not advocating for Brad Marchand to get traded. It's like Lucic, man. Like, you're seeing all these rumors about Lucic. Lucic is a Bruin for life. Yeah, he spent all this time with Calgary. He is a Bruin for life. And like you said, man, it's going to be the same thing for Marchand.
Dude, all right. I just because you brought Lucic up, so I put that poll out on Twitter. I'm trying to find it right now. Okay, it's right here. So I basically just asked, with Lucic being a UFA, would you want to see a Lucic Bruins reunion next season? The options were yes, bring back Luch, no, old, slow, wash, etc. The poll had 857 votes. What do you think the percentages were?
Dude, I'm going to guess the vast majority. bring him back.
Yeah, dude. 54% of people said bring Lucic back. 46% said no.
Dude, I have to admit, I saw the poll.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it. I saw it. Twitter fingers, dude.
Yeah.
I hit that yes so fast, and then I regretted it immediately.
Dude,
like again, man, I love Lucic, but he has an expiration date, man. Like, what is he going to bring to this team if, like, yes, he's a Bruin for life, and to take that Bruins bias out of it, what is he going to do to help this team?
nothing.
I hate to say it. Like, I hate to say it. Love him. Like, one of my favorite Bruins of all time. But
yeah,
it's a
that jersey behind me is a Lucic jersey. Like, yeah, I still have
it. Legend, dude. And like, I just don't see how he's going to help this team. Like, obviously his leadership is, second to none, but I just don't see how his game at this point in his career is going to help this team. No. And I think by putting him in the lineup, you're taking away development from other kids in Providence, the Beechers, the Mercula. Like, I think you're just taking away ice time at that point from kids that need to develop and need to get on the ice and play.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. It's like, if he does come back, how does that make your team better? It honestly makes your team worse. He's slow. I would argue he's a defensive liability. He doesn't produce as often as he used to. He takes stupid, dumb penalties that have no place, unfortunately, in the game anymore. Fighting is rarely a part of the sport right now.
Yep.
So what does he bring that can help your team get better? Nothing. He's just going to be an anchor to that fourth line and drag everybody down. And also to your point of, blocking development from our younger players who the majority of us so badly want to see be integrated into this lineup. Guys like Beecher, guys like McLaughlin, guys like Lauko, guys like Merkulov. I'm probably forgetting one, but regardless, it takes ice time away from them for what? For an aging vet who can barely skate anymore. It's for the nostalgia purposes.
Yeah, for nostalgia. That's literally it.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and that's all you're gonna get from it too. It's like you're gonna, for the first week of the season, you're gonna be excited. You're gonna hear the Luch from the rafters in the Garden, and then he's gonna take a dumb penalty, and then he's gonna take another dumb penalty, and then another dumb penalty, and people are going to be like, okay, all right, what are we doing? Yeah, why did we do this? That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it was such a fast move. Like, it almost brought me back to like my days of growing up watching the Bees and just loving Luch.
Yes.
Then you sit back and think about it, and you're like, yeah, this just isn't going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's tough, but I don't think it's the right move. I think there's other options out there. Besides him, but
you kind of have one you kind of have one right now in Hathaway. If you resign him, he's almost like a younger Lucic in a way, or at least like a modern day Lucic, where he's not just gooning it up the whole time. Like, he's also out there playing decent defense, contributing every now and then on the score sheet, but Lucic, he's too old. He's too slow. It's not a good idea, and it's a disaster if it happens.
Yeah, my choice for someone I'd love that to be a consistent fourth liner is Lauko.
Yes,
I love his game, man. He can play, and I really hope next year that he's going to be in that lineup daily.
Yep.
And I just think I liked what I saw from him, man. And I can't remember what game it was where he dropped the mitts and, he was pumping up the crowd. And that's exactly what you used to see out of a player like Lucic.
Yeah.
And, he was just so dedicated. He wanted the crowd in it. And it was a momentum shift for them. And that's exactly what you need from a fourth line guy.
That is what Lauko is. He's like the gear in a car. If you need some momentum, you throw him out there and all of a sudden you just throw it in a third or fourth gear, and then the crowd's all of a sudden into it. There's juice in the building. There's juice in the lineup. He's that guy. And honestly, too, if and it's a hypothetical, I guess, but if there isn't a way for the Bruins to bring back a guy like Frederick, I could even see Lauko playing third line minutes. I think he could maybe not excel in the third line, but I think he'd be a decent enough player where he'd be able to fill that role and play it, play it well.
I agree.
Yeah.
And just going back to, talking about Charlie Coyle, it is not normal to have a player like Charlie Coyle as your third line center. That it's
Yeah.
just not normal. And the
Yeah.
question I got to ask, do you think that had, with Halsey and Coyle being on that third line, do you think that was one of the main reasons why Frederick had such a good season, 17 goals?
Dude, he was
And
sniffing 20.
and do you think that he does that going to another team?
I don't know, man. It's so weird because I don't think anyone expected that kind of production out of Frederick this year, right? Like nobody expected 3 goals under 20. That's insane for Frederick. I don't have his point totals. Do you have his point totals in front of you?
Let me pull him up real quick.
Yeah, because we all knew he had potential, but I didn't expect him to get on the score sheet as often as he did this year.
Yeah, and I think going back, I think him playing with, again, if he's playing on a line with Coyle and Hall on a third line, you think about it matchup wise, that's a nightmare matchup for any team, as that being your third line. I almost would have expected him to put up those numbers. I would have been disappointed if he didn't.
Yeah.
You're playing with Charlie Coyle, who is one of the most underrated bottom 6 forwards. Could easily slide into a top 6 role.
Yes.
And again, Taylor Hall, former Hart Trophy winner.
Yeah,
I would hope that he would put up those kind of numbers.
Coyle easily the best 3C in the league. Not even a question.
Yeah, I don't think it's close. So, he put up 79 games, 17 goals, 14 assists, 31 points.
That's not bad.
It's not bad. Plus 28 and then 57 PIMs.
Yeah,
something that I saw out of Frederick that kind of didn't, not bothered me, but I feel like he drops the mitts when it's convenient for him.
Okay, that's fair.
Not when the game, not when the game entails it or needs it, or when the Bruins need a momentum shift. And I saw that a lot in the playoffs, dude. Especially with his stuff with Lomberg. It just feel like Florida got a huge momentum shift. He didn't want to drop the mitts at that point.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I never really thought of that.
And you look at a player like Hathaway. Hathaway will do it when the game calls for it. Not when it's convenient for him, not when it's someone that he thinks he could, win against in a fight. When the game calls for it, he stepped up in my mind.
Yeah. No, that's a good point.
That kind of bothered me. And I very well could be wrong, but it's just the way that I saw things.
Yeah, no, dude, that's honestly a good point. But okay, so I think we should transition over to the NHL awards, and we'll go through all the finalists and all the trophies and give our predictions. But obviously, with the NHL awards coming up, that's something that you can gamble on. So if you are a part of that demographic and you like to gamble, make sure that you go to fanduel.com/Boston, get your benefits, get your rewards, and hopefully you guys can win some money.
Gamble responsibly.
Definitely gamble responsibly. So let's start here. We'll start with the Hart Trophy, and I think this one's pretty obvious. I think the 3 finalists right now: Matthew Tkachuk, Florida; Pasta with the Bruins, and then Connor McDavid up in Edmonton. Got to be McDavid, right?
Yeah, dude, I don't think it's close. A lot of these awards I don't think are even close. I think there's a runaway winner in every category. Bringing up his stat line right now, because I just know he had over 100. I want to say 157 points.
I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure he was over 150.
Why is this not pulling up?
Which is absolutely bananas. I don't know how you can put up 150 plus points in an NHL season.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate that we're on the East Coast. We don't get to see a whole lot of them. But when he played the Bruins, when the Oilers played the Bruins, I remember Oilers analytics stroking him off the whole game, and I'm like, this guy is wild. Then I actually watched McDavid playing the Bruins, and my God, dude, he can just take over games single-handedly whenever he wants. He can literally score at will.
Yeah.
And
Dude, he's somebody who I haven't had the opportunity to see him play in person yet. But if Edmonton comes to Boston next year, I'm getting that ticket right when it drops.
So my old man and I, we went to when the Bruins played the Oilers, and watching him in warm-ups, man, his hands, just his vision, like we watched the whole game, and he was easily the best player I've ever seen in person. It's not close. I can't think of any other players that I've seen that were even close to his skill set, just how fast. Him being on TV doesn't do adjust to his speed in real time. It doesn't. And, I was talking to my dad, and he said the same thing, man. He said the closest thing that he could compare him to was Paul Kariya when he was at UMaine his freshman year.
Holy shit.
Just unbelievable skill. And, I always like going back and watching old videos. And, yeah, dude, like, to have my dad say, like, that, I mean, Kariya had an incredible freshman season at Maine.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're listening to this right now and you haven't had the pleasure to see Paul Kariya's UMaine, highlights on YouTube, holy shit, like holy shit.
Yeah, Monty had a hell of a liney, I guess, right?
Yeah, he did.
Pretty good.
So I mean, we're both in consensus with McDavid for the Hart. Now, I think this is when it gets interesting. The Norris, right? The award for the best defenseman in the NHL. Finalists, for some reason, Cale Makar is on this list this season. I don't think he deserves to be a finalist this year, but, he's there. Erik Karlsson obviously had an unbelievably offensive season for San Jose. And then Adam Fox with the Rangers. Who do you think?
So based on how the award is set up right now.
Yeah.
Which I think sucks, by the way.
Me too.
It's going to be Erik Karlsson. There's no way that Adam Fox takes it, and I think he's the best defenseman in the NHL right now.
I do too.
In my eyes, all-around defenseman, he is the best defenseman in the NHL. However, unfortunately, the way that this award is set up, and I wish they would try to, make some change, whether it's – I know I heard you and Nosek talking about it, setting up like an offensive defenseman award, because the way that this award is set up, it's solely based on points and goals. Like, he was like a minus, correct me if I'm wrong, he was like a minus 26.
Yep, minus 26.
How is that an effective defense? I mean, again, he put up like 100 points, great, but like, how are we judging this award? And I'm all for doing like two separate awards. I think that's the best route to go. An offensive defenseman award and then the best all-around defenseman award.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. If say Erik Karlsson put up these numbers, he had 101 points this season on a really crappy San Jose team. Say he put up the same season, but he was even like a +4 or a +10. That's a Norris right there for best all-around defenseman for sure. But he was a minus 26. That's minus 26 is insane. That's so bad defensively.
Yeah, not to mention San Jose is one of the worst teams in the NHL. So how important is he really to his team? Like, again, yes, he's the best player on that team. It's not close.
Right.
But the way that I think that these awards should be judged is also their importance to their team. Like, Adam Fox, dude, had an incredible season. He's my Norris winner.
Yes.
Who's going to win the award? It's Erik Karlsson. Who I think should win the award? It's Adam Fox all day.
Yep.
He's the best defenseman in the NHL, and I don't think it. Makar obviously is up there. McAvoy's up there in my mind. Victor Hedman. There's a lot of really good defensemen, but I think Adam Fox is the best.
And like, listen to this too. So Adam Fox didn't have a bad offensive season either. He had 72 points, 12 goals, 60 assists, and he was a +28. That should be your Norris winner right there.
That's a Norris winner.
That should be your Norris winner.
Absolutely.
But because Erik Karlsson had 101 points, I hope it's not him that wins the trophy, but I think it's going to be Karlsson. Who the winner should be, I think Fox.
Definitely agree.
So let's see. So, oh, I lost the page. Hang on, we're gonna have to cut this part.
I got it up right here. The next one we got the Vezina.
Okay, so next we have the Vezina.
Yep, 3
Okay.
finalists. We got Connor Hellebuck for the Winnipeg Jets, Ilya Sorokin for the New York Islanders, and obviously our Linus Ullmark.
Yeah. So
This
with
is another
that one,
this is another runaway one. I think you have to give it to Ullmark. I mean, obviously, best season. It's not close for me.
Yeah.
Norris was a little bit closer, I guess. This award is not close for me. It's Ullmark.
And you got to remember too, it's a regular season award. The playoffs don't count. He was 46-1 with 2 shutouts, and he had a 189 goals against and a 938 save percentage. How do you how do you not give that to Ullmark? You have to give that.
Don't get that record if anyone but Ullmark is their goalie. In my mind, he had an unbelievable season. Just stood on his head night in, night out. He's the winner here. It's not close.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you. It's Ullmark. It's not Hellebuck. It's not Sorokin. It's not Shesterkin. It's Ullmark all the way.
Alrighty, so the next award, we've got the Ted Lindsay Award, which is for the most outstanding player, I believe, voted by the players. This is going to be McDavid.
It has to be McDavid. That's a quick one.
Yeah, it's easy. Pasta obviously was a finalist for this incredible season he had, and Erik Karlsson.
Yeah.
See what we got next. The next
award, we were literally just saying how you saw him in person and you said greatest player that you've ever seen. That's the most outstanding player.
It's not close.
It's McDavid.
Yeah. If you ever get the pleasure to see him in person, you have to. I mean, hopefully they come back to Boston next year. Yeah. He is incredible, man. And not far behind Draisaitl too. Yes. Obviously not as fast, but man, the way that he sees the ice, his friggin' shot, unbelievable. And the fact that they can't friggin' get to the cup, it boggles my mind.
It's insane, dude. That talk about a team that could use Linus Ullmark.
Yeah, you know, and a team like Edmonton brings me back to a Herb Brooks quote that it's not always about the best players, it's about the right players. Yes. And I think this is a prime example of, you know, you have 2 best players in the world, and I mean,
and you got nothing to show for it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so next award we got the Calder, which is voted for the best rookie in the NHL. Hingham's own Matty Beniers.
Oh yeah.
Owen Power of the Buffalo Sabres, and Stuart Skinner for Edmonton. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Beniers all day. Skinner kind of made a run for it, but then he fell flat towards the end. Matty Beniers, I mean, Seattle Kraken, obviously. Pulling up his stats right now, Matthew.
He 24 points, 24 goals, 33 assists, 57 points plus 14. I don't think that, you know, this is another award, I guess is kind of close, but it's Beniers for me.
Yeah, I mean, he was averaging 17 minutes a night too. It's not like he was playing slacker minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, I think you're looking at the next captain of the Kraken, the first captain of the Kraken. I just see him, you know, he was a leader at Michigan. Just an unbelievable talent. That's my hot take. I think he's, you know, the first captain of the Kraken. They don't have a captain.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think
Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they haven't named a captain. But also I think of a player like Yanni Gourde too.
Yeah, been there from the beginning too.
Yeah.
Let me see. Would you consider Tanev? Would you consider giving him the captaincy?
That bug-eyed.
Yeah.
I roll laughing every time I see his dude. So funny.
It's so funny.
Man, even playing like Chell, I'll be like rolling through the free agents or whatever, and I'll see Tanev available, and like he's just super bug-eyed. I'm like, I gotta sign him.
Oh, hang on a minute. Mark Giordano might have been a captain. Let me see here. It is, yeah, it's Mark Giordano.
Oh, how could I forget about Gio, man? He's a
I mean, I did too.
yeah, legend.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll cut that part out.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
Sorry,
give the
Gio.
Calder to Beniers. I would
Yeah,
definitely give Calder to Beniers.
yeah. And like you said, this is a regular season award. Skinner had a really good playoff in my mind. I mean, for a rookie.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's Matty Beniers. All right, and then we got three more awards. So Jack Adams, our own Jim Montgomery, Dave Hackstall of the Seattle Kraken, and Lindy Ruff of the Devils.
Interesting. Huh. It's funny too because beginning of the season, Devils fans were calling for his head.
Dude,
Like
they
the
were
first week of the season.
yeah, they were riled up.
Yeah,
He's a
dude.
hell of a coach, man. Everywhere he goes, he just system guy. He's incredible. Such a good coach, especially going back to his days in Buffalo. I mean, I know they had a difficult run, but he's a really good coach. I actually think that he's third in this voting.
Yeah.
Um, Monty takes it.
Yeah.
Historic season. I love what Dave Hackstall's done with that Kraken team, man. They don't have any clear stars in my mind. They have a lot of really solid. I think Matty Beniers is going to get there.
Yeah.
We'll see how Shane Wright pans out. But they have a lot of really good players playing within a really effective system.
Dude, I think for sure, I think it's got to go to Montgomery. Again, like we said, a regular season award. If they counted playoffs, I don't think he
Yeah.
might not sniff this award. But you got to consider like the amount of adversity that he himself has faced. He came back from a dark place in his life, and then he comes in and he coaches the Boston Bruins to what is the greatest regular season of NHL hockey the league has ever seen. I don't know how you don't give it to Montgomery.
Yeah, man. Going back to what he went through personally, getting let go of St. Louis, incredible story, man. Anyone going through that kind of stuff, it's such a dark place to be,
Yeah.
and just awesome story, man. And being a local guy, it's just crazy that he was able to step in, and he's going to be the Jack Adams winner.
Yeah. Let me see.
Let's see what we got next. Ooh, this one's not close for me. The Selke.
Selke.
We got obviously Bergie, Nico Hischier of the Devils, and Mitch Marner.
So it's not going to be Marner. I can see Hischier stealing this from under Bergeron, but I think it's Bergeron's award to lose. He had a 61.1% face-off percentage this year. He won 1,043 draws. He lost 663. He had 54 block shots. He had 66 hits, 38 takeaways, 21 giveaways. I mean, what's this going to be? His sixth Selke if he wins it?
Yeah.
One for the thumb, or one for the other thumb, huh? Put a ring on the other hand.
You got to think at some point they're going to consider renaming this trophy for this guy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
They had, it's just incredible. Like I said, going back to the beginning of the show, he's still playing at such a high level, doing things that, he may not be putting up the points, the goals, but he's doing the little things in the defensive zone that he's still playing at a super high level, man. Like it would be crazy to think about him leaving this team, still playing so well.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think it's his trophy to lose. I think you could see Hischier making it close, but I think Bergeron comes away with it.
I agree. And then last but not least, GM of the year, the Jim Gregory General Manager of the Year. We've got Jim Nill of the Dallas Stars, Don Sweeney, obviously, and Bill Zito of the Florida Panthers.
Ooh, that's tough. It's not going to be Jim Nill. I think it's a tight race between Sweeney and Zito.
But you have to remember that this is a regular season award.
Yeah, true.
They came in as an 8. They came in as an 8 seed, Florida. They finished 8th. I think this is Sweeney, man. Like the moves that he made at the deadline, just everything that he went through last offseason, firing a Cassidy. all eyes were on him, man, and he delivered. He is the last person to blame in my mind for this team's demise. And he made all the right moves. He put this team in a perfect position to make a deep run. And obviously they finished best in the NHL. It's Sweeney for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you really look up and down the roster, right, you had 4 wicked deep lines. You had Charlie Coyle as your third center. You had Hall on your third line as well. You had the pieces in place to be able to separate, your top 6 lines. You had David Pastrnak on the second line for the majority of the season. You had Jake DeBrusk on the first line, both lines producing at, elite rates. And then your defensive unit too, Grzelcyk, McAvoy, Carlo, Lindholm, Clifton, Forbert. And then you got the extra guys down in Providence. You got Mike Riley down there, who's an NHL serviceable guy. Jacob Zaboral, I guess you could kind of say that. Just guys in the system who were also able to kind of come up to the Bruins when needed and plug right in. It was almost a perfect roster. And not even almost, it was a perfect roster. And then you got 2 ace goalies too. He was able to sign Pasta. He was able to sign Zacha to an extension. Yeah, you're right. It's Sweeney. It's gotta be Sweeney.
All right, man. So actually, I lied. We have 2 more.
Okay.
The King Clancy Award, the humanitarian. I don't know a whole lot about this, man. I'd have to. Yeah. I didn't do a ton of research as far as humanitarian contributions. They've got Michael Backlund, Anders Lee, Darnell Nurse.
Yeah, you're right. We'd have to do a little more research.
Yeah, I'd have to do some research. We'll cut this out.
Yeah.
And then the last award, the Masterson Trophy, dedication to hockey. Clayton Keller, Chris Letang, and Alex Stalock. I have my pick.
Yeah, this one's easy for me.
My pick is Chris Letang, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, awful, man. Had a stroke. Thank God he's all right. I think, like I said, and he came back the same year, which is just outrageous to think about, man. He's just such a tough dude, and yeah, this is Chris Letang's award, in my opinion.
Not only the stroke, but I don't want to be wrong, but I'm 99% certain that his father passed away this season too. So he was dealing not only with his stroke, but he was also dealing with his father's passing, and he was able to come back. It was only like a month or 2 before he came back after his stroke, and he played the rest of the season. I mean, hockey guy, dedicated to the sport. It's got to be Letang. It'll be a travesty if it's not Letang.
Yeah, I agree, man.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for the awards. Looks like we came to consensus on most of them. Yeah. Hey, what do we got? What else we got on the
I was gonna say I think it's a good spot for the first show. We did the draft, we hit on the Bruins, we hit the Vegas Golden Knights and their future. And we talked a little draft too. I think it's a good spot for a first episode. Don't go too long. It was a good introduction to all the listeners. Hopefully everybody who listened to the show enjoyed it. We're going to be back every week. I know. So we are going to record every Thursday or Friday night, one of those two. And then episodes should drop on Saturday mornings, correct?
Yes. Okay. Just so we're not conflicting with, our boys over at Only Bruins.
Yep.
Shout out Boozy and Brett.
Shout out, dude.
Yeah, we don't want to step on any toes.
Yeah. So BNG is starting to have a full docket of episodes per week. We got the Monday live show with What's Brewing with myself and Chris Nosek. We got Tuesday episodes of Something's Brewing with myself and my co-host Nick Melanson. We got the Wednesday show. I'm pretty sure that's the Black and Gold Hockey Podcast, if I'm not mistaken. Thursday episode drops. I think that spot's open, but obviously Friday drops is Only Bruins. Saturday drops are going to be us here on the Drop the Mitts Hockey Pod with the boys. And then so we're starting to get a full schedule out there. It's really, really good to see. We're gearing up. We're gearing up.
I'm really glad that we could finally make this happen, and it's coming to fruition, man. I just remember thinking back, Funky Murphy's, man, just sitting there crushing beers and just bullshitting hockey the entire. I was like, this dude knows his shit. Like we gotta get together and talk puck. And yeah, so glad that we were able to make this happen.
Yeah, dude. So as as the weeks go along, we'll get more seasoned into the show too, and the show is going to start to get a little bit more of a personality. This is the baby episode, the inaugural episode of the Drop the Mitts Hockey Pod. But I know we're But I know we're trying to line up some awesome guests too for you guys. So hopefully we can get that to work out and bring that to you guys. And hey, every episode is just going to get better and better. And as the season starts to, roll closer and closer, moves are going to start to happen. Signings are going to start to happen. Trades are going to start to happen. Firings are going to happen. It's going to be a lot of stuff going on in the hockey world, and we're going to be here to bring it to you guys. So,
all right, guys, take care.
All right. Peace out, guys. Thanks for listening.